Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Hi, good afternoon. Okay, hi, good afternoon, everybody. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? And okay, I'm seeing a lot of people are actually joining, so let me just wait for a few more people to join. And okay, hi, I can see Trendy, CC, that's CC Bliss, JD. Thanks for joining. That's Omolaja, thanks for joining. Favor Forever, thanks for joining, and all of that. So I'll just wait a bit and see that a few more people join the live, and then actually start. Okay, I can see people joining. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. Okay, hi, my name is Nelson, and I'll probably be taking you through the live today. I won't take much of your time. I'll just touch the important part and then allow you guys to actually go and enjoy your salah. Okay, happy Eid Mubarak. That's happy Barakah Salah to our Muslim brothers and our Muslim sisters. And hope you guys enjoy your Salah break. Okay, I would be talking about Canada today, basically. I know a lot of people are actually considering the Canada option. Yes, Canada is one of the sought after destination now for international students. So those who are looking at going to Canada to study, I think the time is now. And one of the good news is it's now a bit more flexible to actually get a Canadian study permit or visa to actually study in Canada compared to how it was few years ago. Okay, so I'll probably be taking you guys through the that's the admission requirement, that's the general. So I'll be talking about three important topics or three important things today. One is the general requirement and the visa application, and lastly, I'll also be talking about the financial cost. Okay, so permit me to actually take because I did a small note. I'll probably be taking those listen from the notes. Please just permit me to take so I don't forget what I have actually written down. Okay, so I would be talking about the general requirements for admission. So for those who are considering coming to study in Canada, please take notes. If you have a pen and paper, you can actually just jot down. So I'll just tell you what you need to put together to actually get to actually apply or make an application to study in Canada. Okay, so like I said, Canada is one of the sought after destination for international students, and most of the universities in Canada are actually renowned and they are world class. So you might be considering. So for those who are saying, "Oh, I can no longer go with dependents," this is actually a good news for those who. I don't know if it's a good news, but it's for those who are looking at going to study with their family. Canada is actually the right destination for now. So I know UK for now doesn't allow you to go with dependent from January 2024, but you can actually bring in your family to actually study in Canada. So Canada is actually calling you guys. So families, you want to come and study with your family, Canada is the best option for now. Okay, so I'll probably be taking you through the requirements. One is you have to complete the application. That's the school application. So each of these universities have an application which you have to complete. First, before you complete the application, you have to look at what is the application fee. For some of these universities, they have the application fee, and the application fee actually varies. So for some universities, you could see application fee for $80, you could see application fee for $100, you could see application fee for $150, $200, depending on the university. Like I said, it varies university to university, and it's important because you have to pay the application fee before you can actually start the application. Okay, okay, so that's the application fee. Then the next one is the academic. That's the academic transcript. So you need what's your academic educational credentials, which is your academic transcript, which is your degree certificate, which is your WIC result, These are very important. So you need to also make sure that you have all of these documents on ground before considering to make an application to study in Canada. So first is you have to make sure that you have either a student's copy of your transcript. Now, for some universities, they'll probably allow you to use a student's copy if you have one, while for some universities, you have to send your official copy. You have to request that your official copy is sent to the university directly. But in most cases, some of these universities will actually treat your application with your student's copy while you're still processing your official copy. And so that's the beauty about it. So then your degree certificate. I know some people have not. Degree certificate is very important when you're making an application to Canada. Like I would say, I know some people don't have their degree certificate. So for some universities in Nigeria, you have to have completed, or you have to have waited, or probably waited for like 5 years before you can actually request for the official, that's for the degree certificate. I know some universities don't give degree certificate immediately after graduation, so you have to wait for a number of years. So if you're in that category, you can also get, and if you probably can get a letter from the university stating that your certificates will be ready at a particular time. Yes, the university will also consider that. They can actually use either your statement of results or your notification of results. So take note, degree certificate is one of the major documents you need for making an application. Okay, so that's your WAEC. So WAEC is also, a lot of people will say, I'm going for master's program, why do I need to submit WAEC? Yes, WAEC is one of the major requirements to show your English proficiency. That's for schools that will take WAEC as equivalent to English proficiency. For those who would not, regardless of whether you have WAEC or not, you still need to submit test of English. So for some of them, you have to submit IELTS or you have to submit Duolingo. But first, you have to find out if the university accepts Duolingo test of English. So IELTS academic, that's what you're required to write, and then either Duolingo. Duolingo is cheaper and it comes out earlier. I think it comes out within 5 days or so, 5 to 10 days. So you can actually get the result. So you can actually consider that. But first is you need to also reach out to the university to find out if they will accept the Duolingo test of English. Okay, that's what. So now the next on my agenda is DLI, and that's the PGWP eligible. So what do you mean by what is DLI? DLI is that's a designated learning institution. This means that if you want to study in Canada, you need to take this. Very important. You need to ensure that this college or university you are applying to is under the DLI. DLI is designated learning institution. This means that the school you are applying to must be under the DLI, and it has to be PGWP eligible, which means that these are the two things you need to take note. DLI and then postgraduate work permit means that you can actually apply for the postgraduate work permit after your program. So if you apply for a school that is not under the DLI, it means that you cannot apply for the postgraduate work permit. So this is important. The school has to be under the DLI, and also the school has to be that's the postgraduate work permit eligible, so that as soon as you're done with your program, you can actually work after your program. Now, it's important to also take note that if you are coming to Canada, first is you need to be looking at what's the duration of the course. If you're actually applying for a course that is below 8 months, this means that, so the advice is actually for you to apply for a course that is 1 year above or 1 year and above. So if you're applying for 1 year, it means that what you will get is 1 year postgraduate work permit. So if you're applying for a 2 years or 2 or more years course, it means that you're going to get a 3 years work permit. So what a lot of people do is some students that actually came with a 1 year certificate course tend to always extend their visa while they're in Canada. So if you want to save yourself the stress of extending your visa while you're in Canada, you can actually look at a 2 year course, either a 2 year master's course or a 2 years postgraduate diploma course. It's very important so that you can actually get the 3 years postgraduate work permit. Okay, now, so if you're looking at this is a good news again for those who, I know within the, within the last few years, it's been difficult for those who either have HND, second class lower and third class getting admission into Canada. But now a lot of universities are actually considering those categories of degree, class of degrees actually. So if you have a 2-1, there's still hope. You can actually get a direct master's, depending on the course. You can actually get a direct master's into a Canadian university. And if you have an HND as well, and you have a third class, yes, you can actually come into Canada to either do your direct master's or do a postgraduate certificate course, or you do a PGD. Okay, the next on my agenda is your course specific and the standard test. So now, course specific, you have to look at the university, and you also have to look at the course you are applying for. So if you're coming to do, say for example, you're coming to do business analytics, or you're coming to do cyber security and some of these technical courses, you're required to either submit the GRE. For most universities, you have to write a GRE for those courses. So, but first is, like I said, you have to look at the course, go to the university, look at the course, and look at the requirements. If the requirements, if the course actually requires that you submit a standardized test. So for most universities in Canada, if you're coming to do a direct master's in Canada for MBA, most of the universities will actually request that you submit what's it called, the GMAT. So it's important that you take notes, not just jump into you just wake up and say you want to make an application and then you just start the process. First is you have to go to the university page, ensure that you look at the course first. That's the course specific. That's the requirement for the course. If the course requires a GRE or a GMAT, very important. Okay, so the next on my agenda is the SOP. Now, the SOP is very important. So, which means that's the statement of purpose. Some people say it's personal statement. Some people call it personal statement. Some people call it statement of purpose. Some people call it letter of intent. Letter of intent is you need to explain. So I can see your questions. I'll probably answer your questions when I'm done with my presentation. Thank you for dropping in your questions. You can drop in your questions as soon as I am done. I'll probably answer those questions. I'll take them one after the other, and I will answer them. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Okay. So like I said, there's letter of intent, which means that you have to explain why you want to study the course, why you want to study in Canada, and why you have chosen to study that particular program. And then you probably explain what you've been doing within the last since you graduated, and what you've been doing till date, which is very important. A lot of schools take this as important as take this very important. So it's important that you just also look at this statement of purpose or letter of intent, why you want to study the course and all of that. But you can actually reach out to us. We have samples, we have different samples that we can actually share with you guys whenever you're ready, or whenever you're writing your letter of intent or your statement of purpose. Now, the next on my agenda is letter of recommendation. That's the LOR. So this is important. If you're looking at studying in Canada, you need to get this letter of recommendation. For some universities, you have to provide 2. For some universities, you have to provide 3. So they require you get a letter of recommendation from your previous lecturer. So if the university you studied, you need to get one or 2 letter of recommendation, and where you currently work. So it's important. It's one of the major requirements for application. That's if you're making an application to study in Canada. Okay, the next on my agenda is the language proficiency. That's the language proficiency test score. So like I said earlier, it depends on the university. For some universities or for some colleges, if you have WAEC, that's a minimum of C6 in WAEC, you probably might not be required to submit an English test. But for some universities, even with your WAEC, you'll still be required to submit an English test. They might probably request that you submit an IELTS or TOEFL or the Duolingo test of English. But first, you need to also find out what the university, which of the standardized tests or which of the English proficiency the university is requesting for, or the university requires. It's either the Duolingo or the English, the IELTS. So if you're doing the IELTS, it has to be the IELTS academic. For some universities, you have to get an overall score of 6.5, which means that in each band you have to score at least 6.0. Then for some universities, you have to have an overall of either 6.0, and then in each band you have to score 5.5. But it's important that you also look at the requirements before making your application. Now, the next on my agenda is, okay, you have to scan that. You scan your credentials, that you scan your transcript, your degree certificate, your WAEC, your CV, data page of your international passport. And for some universities, also for some colleges, they will actually say request you submit that's your proof of funds, which means that show them that you have the required funds to actually come and study at their college or their university. Now, I have done, okay, that's the last on my agenda for the general requirements for admissions. So I'll probably go into the visa requirement. So now this is one of the major. So if you have actually prepared or you have actually gathered all the required documents for application, what you should have at the back of your mind, or before you even start gathering these documents for visa for your admission or for your application, what you should have in mind is, can I afford? What is the tuition fee? What is the cost for studying in Canada? This is very important because a lot of people don't take this into consideration before concluding if they really want to make Canada their study destination. And this is usually very important because it's important you know what the cost is before going into it so that you don't get stuck in between. So now, what is the cost for studying in? So I'll actually talk about the cost even later, but let me just talk about the visa requirement for studying in Canada. Now, the visa requirement is, one is you have to get the medical. So if you're um, yeah, sorry about that. I think a call came in. So if you're considering making a visa application to Canada, first is you have to either do your medical. So you're required to submit a medical test result. There are designated doctors or where you can actually designated hospitals where you can actually do your medicals. There's IOM, there's Q Life, and many of them. So you can actually check up on their page. We also have those links. We'll also share with you guys where you can actually go and take your medical results. It's important. I think it's about depending on which of the hospital you are using, usually between 50K to I think 70K thereabouts. That's for the medical fee. Okay, so it's important that this is one of the major requirements you need for making a visa application. Now, the next on my agenda is that's your credentials, educational credentials. That's your employment, your transcripts, your degree certificates, your WAEC. If you've written any standardized test or if you've written any proficiency English proficiency exam, you either need to submit that. That's your transcripts, your degree certificates, your WAEC, your CV, and yes, and then probably say data page of your international passport. So these are the documents that you need to also add to your visa application when you are making the visa application. Okay, the next on my agenda is the proof. That's the proof of funds. This is very important. If you're looking at studying in Canada, the proof of funds is very important. Now, first is tuition fee varies. So the first is you need to look at the tuition fee. For some Canadian universities, you might be required to just submit or to just make an initial deposit. It could be 2,000, it could be 1,000, it could be 10, it could be 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. But you have to look at what their initial deposit is. While for some universities or for some colleges, you just pay only acceptance fee. Acceptance fee can be $500. Acceptance fee can be $1,000. So you need to look up on the university and then know what their acceptance fee is. Now, for the acceptance fee, most of the acceptance fee is not refundable. Say, for example, you're paying $500 for acceptance fee. You're not going to get it back if the application is refused. So it's a non-refundable fee. But if you're paying an initial deposit, yes, you can actually get a refund of your initial deposit if your application is either refused. So now, first is you have to look at the tuition fee. What is the tuition fee? For Canadian schools, tuition fee ranges between 15,000 to about 35,000 Canadian dollars. For some colleges, it's usually between say 15 to 17,000, 17,000 to about 25,000 Canadian dollars for the program. So if you're required to pay an initial deposit, the initial deposit plus the living cost is what you're expected to show as proof of funds for Canada. Now, the beautiful thing is there are a lot of documents or a lot of documents you can actually show as proof of as part of your proof of what's it called, proof of funds. Actually, it's not necessary has to be the money doesn't necessarily have to be in your account, but there are other documents you have to prove to show that you can afford to either pay for your trip, or you can afford to show sponsor yourself while you're studying in Canada, and this is very, very important. Okay, the next on my agenda is your bank. Okay, that you must prove that you have a student loan. Yeah, so if you're going, you can either submit a student loan. So the embassy also accepts a student loan. So if you have a student loan, you can also submit a student loan. It's also accepted as part of your documents to submit for your proof of funds. And then also the embassy requires a 4-month bank statement. This means that if you have a 4-month bank statement, yes, it's also 4-month bank statement is a required documents you need for visa application. Now, one thing you should take note of is when they say they require a 4-month bank statement, they are not saying that at the end of the 4 months you are just showing them the required funds. It means that you must show them that you have the required funds for your study. So, and one of the things I would usually advise students to do, or advise those who are actually coming to study in Canada, is not to do a bulk transaction in the account close to when you're making the visa application. This might lead to a refusal. Say, for example, you're submitting a 4-month bank statement, and that 4-month bank statement, what you have in the account, you need, say you need 15 to 20,000, 15 to 20, that's say 15 to 20 million naira. And yes, you have 15 or 20 million naira as a closing balance, but within the last 4 months, they've not seen any reasonable amount of money sitting down in that account. What's the assurance that that funds you're showing them belongs to you? So it's important that you don't do a bulk transaction or a bulk transfer into the account as at when you want to make the visa application. Even if you're going to do that, you have to provide evidence where the money is coming from, which is very important. So if there's going to be a bulk transaction or a bulk funds in or transaction showing on your account, it means that you should be able to explain that lump sum of money entering your account. It could be as a result of you sold a property. It could be as a result of maybe you won a lottery or somebody gave you a cash gift, but you should be able to explain it. If you're not able to explain it, trust me, that's going to be a visa refusal. So it's important that you take note of that. Do not make any bulk transaction as at the time you're making your visa application, because the visa officer will actually frown at that. And if you're going to do that, you need to have a proper explanation to that transfer or to that transaction. Okay, so you need to show that you have either paid. So you need to also show proof. What's the proof? You also need to show proof that you have paid your tuition fee. For those who do not require, or for schools that do not require you to pay, that you're not required to pay an initial deposit, all you need to do is just show that you have. If you have gotten your letter of acceptance, that's your LOA. If you have gotten your letter of acceptance with your proof of funds, you can actually submit that. But if the school requests or the school requires that you pay an initial deposit, ensure that you get an evidence that you have paid, either a receipt to show that you have paid an initial deposit or you have paid a certain amount of money to the university. This is very important. Okay, and you also need to get a letter from the institution. Okay, you have letter from the institution giving you money. So, for example, if you're getting money from somewhere, you also need to get a letter. Say if you're getting scholarship to actually study, you need to also get a scholarship letter to show that you've been awarded a scholarship to actually study. This can also act as a mean or proof of funds as well too. Okay, so let me just check what is on my next agenda. Okay, now, so you need to also, the next on my agenda is you need to submit a letter of explanation. A letter of explanation. This is very, very important. So even if you have, so it's best to just submit a letter of explanation. Now, the letter of explanation entails that you write what you're submitting to the IRCC for your visa application. Now, if you're submitting some financial documents, you have to state it there. Your letter of explanation is one of the most important documents. So you don't take that as that's one of the most important documents to actually take note of, because the way you explain, the way you do your letter of explanation matters a lot. It explains everything. It actually helps gives the visa officer an understanding of your application from the beginning to the end. So if you have, say for example, there's a mistake in your name, or your name is not properly spelled, or there's a problem with your credentials. So in that letter of explanation, you need to state it. So unfortunately, I cannot share a sample of a letter of explanation. I probably would have shared it on this page. But trust me, I could share this letter of explanation if you either contact us. So if you can just send us a message, we'll send you a sample of letter of explanation showing you how letter of explanation should be like. So first is you have to talk about why you chose, you have to talk about your experience, why you chose the course, why you chose Canada as a place of destination, what you intend to do after your school. And then you also need to talk about your finance, the documents you have submitted to support your application. If you have submitted a statement of accounts, a 4-month statement of accounts, if you have submitted an investment certificate, if you have submitted a loan certificate, whatever it is that you are submitting to, you're putting in for your visa application, you have to explain it in your letter of explanation, so that the embassy or the visa officer who picks up the file will understand that, okay, this person has actually helped me done the job. All they need to do is just go through the letter of explanation and see what you have highlighted and the documents you have submitted to actually help support your visa application. Yeah, the next thing is, if you're coming with your family, one of the beautiful things now is you can actually apply with your family. So for example, you want to travel with your family, you can apply together with your family, or your family can actually apply to join you later. So that's the interesting thing. So you either apply with your family, or your family applies to join you later. So all of you can actually make the application together. And if you're making the application together, what you're paying is about $170 for visa application. That's for visa application fee. But I'll get to that part where I'll probably explain how much the visa application fee is and how much is for biometrics as well. So if you're married, part of the documents to submit is your marriage certificate, which is very important. And if you're also if you have children, it's also important that you attach your children's birth certificate. Now, so supporting documents. So part of the supporting documents you would need for visa application is if you have a landed property. Yes, it's important that you submit a land property, any investment certificate, any loan approval, and also study leave. These are documents, supporting documents that you can actually add to your visa application. Please take note, it's important that whatever document you have in terms of proving to the Canadian embassy that you can afford to study in Canada, please, you need to put that together. Now, your bank statement, any investment certificate, any landed properties, any loan approval, if you've gotten a study leave from your university, it's also important that you add all of these documents just to support your visa application. No amount of document is too much. It's just important that you put these documents together just to prove to them that, yes, you're a genuine student, that you will leave Canada after your study. That's what they want to see. That's what the documents that they want you to submit. Tell us that you have home tiles, and your home tiles could be either you have study leave, landed properties, you've gotten an investment. Say you have you've gotten a loan, to say, oh, they are giving you a loan, or a company is giving you a loan to go and study, and then you come back to Nigeria after your visit. Those are very strong home tiles that they will consider as part of your application. Okay, I've actually talked about the visa application. So, but if you have questions, you can actually throw in your questions, and I'll just talk about the financial cost. What's the financial cost for studying in Canada? Okay, now for for the main applicant, if you're a main applicant and you want to study in Canada, one of the amount you're required to show is a minimum of 10,000 Canadian dollars. 10,000 Canadian dollars is what you're expected to show as proof of funds, which means it covers part of your fees, it covers your accommodation, your feeding, your books, your transportation, whatever it is that you need for a period of 1 year. Usually between 800 to 900 depending on the location. For some locations you have to show more, which is 1,000 monthly and all of that. So you're expected to show at least minimum of 10,000 Canadian dollars for your proof of funds. So if you're coming with a family member, which means that if you're coming with dependent, the first family member will be showing about 4,000. We're showing about 4,000, and then the second, the accompanying would actually be showing about 3,000, which is 317 monthly. So for a main applicant, you'll be expected to show 10,000 minimum CAD. That's the minimum cost of living for. In that, so the truth is, when I do my calculation, most times I look at it and say, oh, for some cities it's more actually, but they are saying that the minimum you're expected to show is 10,000 for the main applicant. Now 10,000 plus the remaining balance of your fees. That's what you're expected to show. But take note that it's important that the more money you have in your account, the better your chances. That's the truth. The more money you have, the better your chances. So if you're saying you want to calculate the remaining balance of your fees and probably cost of living, that's what should be in your account. So it now depends on what your tuition is and how much you have paid towards your tuition plus your cost of living, which is about 10,000 Canadian dollars. That's what you're expected to show as proof of funds for your 4-month bank statement. Now, like I said, you might have an investment certificate, or you might have a study loan approval. So if you have that, so that can also come into play. You can also add that to your proof of funds. Very important that you take note of these figures. 10,000 plus the remaining balance of your fees. That's what you need to show. Then with other supporting documents to show that if peradventure this liquid cash is no longer available, I have XYZ, I have this and this and this, which will also cover, or which will also stand in as my proof of funds as well. So that's what the embassy wants to see. You cannot just wake up and say you just want to submit only your bank statement. In most cases, it's advisable that you submit bank statements with other documents to show as a supporting document to your proof of funds. Please take note. Do not only submit your your bank statement as proof of funds. They want to see that apart from the liquid cash, there are other things that are in place that will actually help you, or that will actually help fund your studies. This is very important. If that is not in place, it means that you're likely going to be refused the visa. That's the visa. Okay. I think I've actually touched most of the areas. So if you have questions, you can actually, let me just pick those questions, and then so you can actually drop in your questions. So if you're considering Canada, yes, Canada is one of the most sought out destination for now. And the truth is, Canada population reaches 40 million. So that's one of the things. And the truth is, Canada is still looking at bringing people to. It's actually a good destination for relocation. So if you want to relocate, you can actually come to Canada. Canada is the Jackpot route as for now. Canada is one of the best routes to Jackpot. Okay, so let me just take your question. Somebody's asking, good afternoon, is there job sponsorship routes still available? Yes, there are a lot of routes. There are a lot of immigration routes actually, if you're looking at coming to Canada. So I'm actually talking about the study route. So the study route is one of the routes you can actually use to relocate to Canada. So there are lots of them that you can actually use. There's the spousal route, there's the work permit route, a lot of them. But I'm actually talking about the study route. So, but like I said, Canada is actually looking at bringing in, at least they're looking at bringing in they're looking at bringing in that's 465,000 immigrants to come to Canada. So it's a very good it's a very good thing for those who are actually looking at relocating to Canada. Trust me, it's a good city. I would say it's a good city. It's one of the most peaceful countries to actually live in. So if you're looking for a place to study and have peace of mind, yes, Canada is that dream destination. So you can actually consider that. And the truth is, now it's a lot easier to actually get a study visa now in Canada compared to 3 years ago. So I would say we've seen a lot of people getting visas. Now the processing time is about 6 weeks, but a lot of times we see people getting visas 2 days, 5 days, 1 week, 10 days. And trust me, people have been getting visas. The most important thing is just ensure that you put all of these documents together, and if you do, you're guaranteed of getting the visa. As far as you have all of these documents together, you're 80% guaranteed that the Canadian embassy will actually grant your visa. Very important. They take note of all of these documents. And please be careful. Do not submit any fraudulent document. Do not indulge yourself in any misrepresentation, because they frown at that very well. Do not do that. Ensure that all your documents are intact. Ensure that you're submitting the right documents so that you don't get it banned, because if you get it banned, it's not a good thing. So, but if you have all of these documents I have highlighted, trust me, your chances of getting a Canadian visa is 80 to 90%. Okay, so let me see. Okay, if you have your questions, you can actually drop your questions. I'll probably be willing to. Please, I want to know if you assist someone with study in Germany or Finland. Yes, what's your that Geraldine? So you can actually send us a DM, and my colleague will actually respond to you regarding your interest. Okay, so I'm waiting for questions. If you have questions, yes, you can actually throw in your questions, and I'll be willing to answer. Have you ever successfully processed students with dependents, because Canada hasn't made accepting dependents of students officially? Yes, we have done a lot of, we've done a couple of dependents going with the main applicant. And we had one we did, I think, this in June, and in 5 days the visa came out. All the main applicants and the dependent got their visa. Like I said, you can actually go with your dependent. All you need to do is ensure that your proof of funds is intact. If you have your proof of funds intact, you're guaranteed of getting the visa. This I can say because we've got a couple of our students that have actually gotten these visas with their dependents. And the beautiful thing is you can actually apply with your dependents if you have these funds in the account. So it's no longer, you need to wait for your visa to be out before you can apply with your dependent. All you need to do is just show the proof of funds for them, and you get the visa. So I can assure you that if you even send us a DM, we'll also show you proof that main applicants and the dependents actually got their visas. So it's a good thing. And if you have a dependent, something you can actually consider. Is it possible? Okay, is there a possibility way for a dependent? So I don't understand your question. Is there a possibility way for dependent? Like I explained, yes, you can actually go with your dependent if you're considering coming to Canada to study. So you must be studying, at least you need to consider a 12-month course. And then if you're considering the 12-month course, yes, you can come with your dependent. Can somebody relocate to another country like UK? Can someone relocate from another country like the UK? Are you currently in the UK? It depends on what relocation you're looking at. If you're looking at the express entry and you meet the requirements, yes, you can actually apply for the PR from the UK. Or if you're looking at you can either apply for a job from the UK, apply for a job in Canada from the UK, and if you get the job and the job is under LMIA, yes, you can actually relocate, or you can actually leave the UK to come to Canada to work. So you can actually start your process from the UK. It doesn't stop you anywhere you are. All you need to do is you can start your process from anywhere, whether Nigeria, UK, whatever it is. Is it advisable to apply for Is it advisable to apply with one's dependent after the main applicant gets his or her admission? Yes, like I said, I explained earlier, you can actually apply with your dependent. All you need to do is just show that you have enough money for them. And if you have that, your chances of getting the visa is 80 to 90%. Okay, so let me see. So if you have questions, you can actually throw in your questions and I'll be willing to answer your questions. Okay, waiting for more questions if you have. So if you're still considering studying in Canada, January 2024 is available. You can start the process for your January 2024 intake. Please ensure that it's better to start early so that you can actually make your visa application early, because there are processes. You need to do a police report. I didn't mention that earlier. You need to take your police report. That's to show that your police character, and this will take a while. You also need to do the medical. So you need to book an appointment for that. So it's important that you start your process on time. The earlier the better, so that you can actually get your your visa and your study permit early, and then while you can have ample time to apply for buy your ticket actually. So it's important that you just start early. The earlier the better. Okay, so if you have questions, I'll be here for 5 more minutes, and then I'll draw the curtain. But if you don't have questions, I'll probably just allow you guys to go have fun, go enjoy your Salah break. I'm still waiting for questions. Canada is waiting for you. So if you're considering Canada, I'm actually in Canada now. So if you're considering Canada, you can actually reach out to us, and we'll be willing to help you with the whole process. Trust me, Canada is actually giving visas now, and I would say a lot of people are actually getting the next destination is Canada now. I know a lot of people are looking at the fact that UK no longer brings dependents. Where is the next destination? Yeah, the next destination is Canada. I can assure you that if you put all of these documents together, your chances of getting is almost guaranteed. Yeah, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has actually joined our live. While I'm waiting for more questions, if I don't get more questions, I'll probably just end the live. But I want to say a big thank you to you guys for joining, and I hope to see you guys in Canada. So if you're considering the Canada option, I would advise you start early enough, because admission takes a while. You have to put all of these documents together. I know how difficult it is to get transcripts. So it might be difficult to get transcript from your university. So for those who have not gotten transcript, you can start making the arrangement for your transcript. Start getting the necessary documents. For those who have not gotten their degree certificate, you just have your notification of results or statement of results. Start making arrangement for that, because that's part of the documents that you will need for your application. That's very important, so that when you start the application process, you don't keep running around to get all of these documents. I know how stressful Nigerian universities can be when it comes to transcripts. So even if you're not looking at the January 2024, but you still have plans to travel or to actually study, start making plans for your transcript, your degree certificate if you don't have one. I want to say a big thank you to you guys for joining, and we'll hope to see you guys next week, same time. If you don't have any question, have fun, enjoy your Salah break, and I want to say bye to you guys and talk to you guys next week, same time. Thank you so much. We love you guys. Thank you.